this. I love this with the kids on the floor. Isn't that not beautiful? To me, that totally represents Kalvan right there, having the children on the floor. I just love it. So if you haven't found a seat, please make your way through. There's a few more chairs there. If you feel like standing, you can do that well. And we're going to get started.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome. Can you hear me? Yes, you can. Just got to hold it right. Okay, I'll try to. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin our service. No can hear. They cannot hear. Testing. Can you hear us? Can you hear me now? Down below. Can you hear me?
Can you hear? Can you hear?
Okay. We're gonna start our service now. Thank you. We're gonna begin now. We want to make sure that you can hear. So I'm gonna go back to the pulpit.
It can't. This doesn't reach.
Okay.
It's kind of like here.
Okay, we probably can turn it down a little bit, maybe. Sorry about that. Testing, yes. I think that should be good. All right, here we go. Thank you. Well, I think the benefit of my directing you here from the parking lot is that I feel like I know each and every one of you now. On behalf of Julie Gill, and on behalf of Kalvan and of their daughters, Kelly, Kim, Lori, Lana, Wiggy, and Jasmine, I want to welcome you and thank you for being here today. We welcome all of you who have come in person, and also those, sorry, I should be facing here, shouldn't I? As well, and those who have joined us online. As we begin our program, I want to thank, on behalf of the Gill family, all of you who have showed support and love and care, and those who sent so many sentiments and notes through the various media means. And they are grateful for that. My name is Dale Gunther, and I am a friend of Kalvan's and Julie's, and a friend of the Gill family, and I have the privilege today of conducting this memorial service on behalf and for Kalvan Gill. Before I do so, I'll just quickly go over the program a little bit, and after I have the privilege of saying a few remarks, we will have the eulogy by Rosalind Delmonico, and that is, of course, sister-in-law to Julie and Kalvan. And I understand as a young friend from years ago, and that you're still very good friends now. After our eulogy, which we'll be pleased to hear, there will be a family memories, I think a little video presentation. Oh, speak, I'm sorry, that's my mistake. And then refreshments and social afterwards. And so I look, and as I came here, I realized how wonderful and beautiful it is here, and how fortunate it is that we have an opportunity to meet here, and how Kalvan would love this surrounding, and I think he has in the past. And that we can be here and have the freedom to do so, and to enjoy each other's company as we do so. We're here in common, all of us, sharing a relationship, some a close relationship, as friends and families, and even as strangers. as we celebrate and enjoy the life of Kalvan. I'm grateful for the opportunity I have had of becoming friends with Kalvan and Julie. My first visit with Kalvan was not that many years ago. Sorry, I'll be focused on this. I'm not used to holding one to my face. But it wasn't that many years ago. In fact, only a few short years ago. And it wasn't until a few weeks after I realized of Kalvan's passing away how much his relationship with me, his friendship with me meant to me. And I'm grateful for that friendship that I have with Julie and with the Gill family. I met Kalvan while I was completing some electrical work for one of his tenants. And this distinguished older gentleman with that distinguished hat came in. And I know what he was doing. He was checking out to see what kind of riffraff the tenant hired for an electrician. He wanted to make sure that this electrician knew what he was doing, and it was being done in the standard that he wanted it to be done. And all of us know that his standards were relatively high. And the fact that I got asked to come back and do further work for him meant, okay, I must have passed that little test. Kalvan expected nothing but the best when it came to the work for him and in his building. And when he came there and saw me working, he had a curiosity. You could see it in his eyes. And he just wanted to understand what was going on. And yet he still did have a fairly good understanding of what was going on. We spoke for a few minutes, and it was clear he understood electrical, and he understood industrial equipment and motors and drives. And he understood the applications of those pieces of equipment. And he just simply loved to talk about it. Anything to do with motors or any kind of power, he loved it, and he wanted to talk about it. And I enjoyed that aspect of our friendship. Kalvan simply loved horsepower. That conversation would be many conversations that he and I would have in the future in the short time that we were friends. He'd either invite me over to his office, or I, when I had time, would simply drop by just to say hi. And Kalvan's mind, as you know, was keen. He was a smart man. He was sharp. And his desire and ambition would prove his success in all of his endeavors, which it did. I enjoyed listening to him tell his stories and adventures, and he enjoyed telling them. As he spoke about them, I realized that his mind was going, and his mind was thinking. And he was remembering things, and he was so excited. Dale, I've remembered something else. And so it got to the point where it was his passion, it was his goal, that he wanted to compile as many stories as his mind could remember, and he wanted to put them together. And he wanted to put them together for his children, and his grandchildren, and his great-grandchildren, and his future posterity. Kalvan asked me on a couple of occasions, Dale, do I sound like I'm bragging? I don't want to brag. I don't want to boast. And I would simply say to Kalvan, if in your heart you're boasting, then you're bragging. But if you're not, and you just want to share these things to help people to grow and to understand some new lessons that you've experienced in your life, that's sharing your wisdom. And so you should be doing that. And he did, and he loved doing that. As he spoke, sometimes at great lengths, Kalvan would always ask or tell me, or would ask me, tell me about you, Dale. Tell me about what you're doing. Tell me about your family. And I was really appreciative of that courtesy, that he would extend that to me. As we spoke about these experiences, there were times when he would say, if only we were able to have met a few years earlier. If only we could have worked together a little bit more. And I had also had those feelings. But I think both of us simultaneously with a smile, realized, oh my goodness, that would not work. We would simply get ourselves into more trouble. And I think that's kind of the way we felt. I would never place myself in the same level as Kalvan. But I've come to realize that there are some similarities in our lives and some aspects of our lives. The most recent one I found was that I understand that Kalvan's favorite pie and tart is lemon. Yes, me too. I love lemon. But we also share another similar trait, and that is we both had to watch our blood sugar levels. So that wasn't a good thing. But we enjoyed that. I wanted to share with you just a couple quick things here. On my page, sorry. Kalvan and I spoke about many topics, but on occasions the topics would become serious and almost spiritual in nature as he contemplated his life. On one of those occasions, Kalvan asked, Dale, do you believe that there is a higher power out there? A power greater than our own? Is there something or someone who directs or helps? My response to Kalvan was absolutely. Beyond a shadow of doubt, I believe this to be true. He then asked why I thought he had been so blessed in his life. Why him? Why Kalvan Gill? He asked why had he had so many things go his way, so many opportunities. Why had he been blessed with such a wonderful family, and so on. My contemplated response to that was, as you work hard, as you strive to overcome struggles and obstacles, not only in life but also associated with the task, you will succeed. You will strive to do, as you strive to do your best and be your best, you will. As you strive to be a good husband, a good father, a good grandfather, a good friend, and good neighbor, and so on. If you strive to be a good person and seek opportunities to serve and to help others, you will be blessed. Blessed by this greater power that Kalvan felt, thought, had faith in believing. I know now that Kalvan knows now that there is indeed a greater power. That this power does exist, and that his life and mine and yours was and is directed by this greater power, if we allow him. People of different faiths and cultures have different names. Some may call him God. But one thing we have in common is that we are spiritual brothers and sisters of God. Kalvan lives, and he has been greeted by those who have his friends and loved ones who have gone before him. His bodily remains may be here on this earth, but his spirit lives on, as do those who are now with him, or he is now with. He has retained and possesses all the attributes, traits, and personality, and he has been raised to the eternities with all his intelligences, and so will we. In conclusion, I would like to address the Kalvan Gill family directly. And although You're scattered, I believe. I would like to look each of you in the eyes, and I cannot. And so please consider me as talking to you. I believe that if Kalvan were here and able to speak to us at this very moment, he would say, Julie, Kelly, Kim, Lori, Lana, Wiggy, and Jasmine. I love you, and I miss you. I am safe, and I am happy despite my missing you. Grieve for a season, then live your lives as I have lived mine. Be happy, work hard, be kind, and help others around you. Love and support each other as only a family can. Live your lives so that as you look back one day, you feel the joy and satisfaction and with a sense of accomplishment and self-respect. Continue to be the amazing women that you are and are destined to be. Continue to be strong and fight life's battles. And don't let anyone, including yourself, tell you or make you feel less than what you are. And he would say, as he has confessed to me, no man could ask for more from life than what I have. Two amazing women who I love and have loved me, and who have given me 6 incredible daughters who I adore. Kalvan would say, I could not be prouder. One day you will have an opportunity to embrace your father and your husband again, as each of us will pass through the veil from this life to the next. And I leave you with these impressions and heartfelt comments, and thank you.
Hi, I'm Rosalind. Can everybody hear us down in the chandelier room? Give me a wave if you can. Awesome. Okay. Well, I am absolutely thrilled to be able to do the eulogy for Kalvan and for Julie. And it's an honor for, I'm sure, all of us to be able to come here to be able to celebrate such a wonderful man. And it's especially wonderful for me to be able to do this. So, and kids, I hope you enjoy it, because there's some fascinating stuff coming about Uncle Kalvan and Grandpa. With sadness, the family of Kalvan Gill announced his peaceful passing at Mission Memorial Hospital on October 4th, 2023. He was surrounded by those he loved most: his loving wife Julie, his 6 vibrant daughters, and many of his precious grandchildren. It's a privilege to be able to offer this eulogy on behalf of this man who was a compassionate husband, father to 6 daughters, grandfather to 8 grandchildren, great-grandfather to 8 great-grandchildren, an uncle and a brother, Kalvan Gill. Kalvan was born in 1936 to Indar Singh and Bhagwant Kaur Gill at Nathwala in the Punjab. Following his father, who set into motion the immigration to Canada, Kalvan traveled with his mother and his sister Kuldeep via train to Calcutta in 1938 and then boarded a ship to Hong Kong. From Hong Kong, they took a 6-month voyage to Canada aboard the steamship Empress of Japan, and arrived in their new homeland early in spring of 1939. It is thought-provoking to consider the fact that during that full half year of travel, Kalvan and his family had to live in the bottom of the ship, as this is where all immigrants were expected to be housed. That said, Kuldeep recalled many amusing stories about her toddler brother Kalvan on this arduous and very long journey. Kalvan found the bathroom on the ship to be of great interest, as his family had not previously had running water. He was completely mesmerized by the clean running water that swirled in the white porcelain bowl. Kalvan's mom found it hard to convince him that he could not drink the water. Once in Canada, the Gill family settled in Wood Street in Queensborough, which is where all immigrants resided. Mr. Gill Sr. found employment in the logging lumber industry, and he, along with his father, put a deposit of $5 down on their first home, which was purchased for $500. At that time, that's when Cal's younger brother Stan was born. Though they were thankful for their new home, Cal's family, as with all immigrants, had much to miss from their homeland. After a time, it was decided by the men within the Gill family that they would purchase a farm in Ladner. Kalvan loved growing up on the farm. His duties ranged from milking cows and shoveling manure to running the tractor and plowing the fields. This is where Cal got his love for driving. Growing up, there was farming by day and reading and math drills with his father at night. Kalvan idolized his father. Indar helped shape the man that Cal would become as he was a very caring and generous father. Life was a struggle in so many ways for the newly immigrated families. The men were often in camp where they had each other and where they were able to speak their native tongue. But it was most difficult for the women left on their own. Often not speaking English, they had to rely on their children to help them survive in the unfamiliar life that they were now living. Cal's mom suffered greatly from the loneliness and isolation. There were very few women within her culture to support her as a young mother who now had 4 children, the youngest of which was Jerry. Back home in India, the women lived, cooked, socialized, and supported each other collectively. The loneliness in this new life was too much for her to bear at times, and it took its toll. Cal always felt sad that his parents never got to see his success or enjoy an easier life that he could have afforded them. He knew too well the plight of the immigrant. Cal loved his parents dearly and understood the sacrifices that they had made to provide a better life for him and his family in Canada. As a way to honor his mother's memory, Kalvan donated the ornate dinnerware that she had brought with her on that long journey from India to the Royal BC Museum in Victoria. He offered this family heirloom as an enduring legacy of his Sikh heritage. Moving from the farm, the Gill family relocated to Mission as the men had started a wood business called Gill Brothers Trucking. Ray Ryle, who owned a gas station on the flats close to Kalvan's home, became an instrumental mentor to young Kalvan. Through Ray, he gained his knowledge and knack for anything mechanical, learning to weld at 12 years of age under Ray's guidance. Ray could make anything, and he gave Cal the start to his engineering mind that would end up shaping his entire professional life. Kalvan was a determined young man who had many uncles to impress. Now, school was not of much interest to Cal. He didn't understand why he had to learn about people and events that happened 500 years ago. He wanted to learn about now and things that could be useful in his own life. So much to his father's dismay, he quit school at 15 to 16 years of age. Cal's father had been a teacher in India and highly valued education, but Cal saw opportunity to make money in the logging industry. So off he went to Vancouver to the Loggers Agency Posting Board. The highest paying job there was that of a shovel operator. Cal said, "I'll take that job." To which the clerk replied, "You look a little young for that job." Cal remarked confidently, "No, I run my dad's all the time," lying through his teeth. He thought to himself, how hard can it be? Well, his confidence paid off. He got the job and headed to Tassus. After seeing the monstrosity of the machine, the foreman Gus must have seen a look of terror on Cal's face and remarked, "You've never run one of these before, have you?" To which Cal replied, "Just show me how to start it. I catch on real fast." The foreman remarked, "It's good that we're hard up for men, or I'd kick your ass all the way back to camp." Gus gave Cal a 1-hour lesson on the machine, and he was off and running. It was in this camp that Cal became proficient in running most types of heavy equipment. He was gainfully employed and sent money home regularly. The money that Cal earned from this and subsequent jobs in the logging industry allowed him to not only help his family, but also provide the means to realize his dream of owning fast cars. During the off time and winter seasons, Cal would be working on engines and cars with his good friend Mike Meeker. As teenagers, Mike often called Cal Speed because he had a reputation as the guy who always had to have the fastest car. Cal never tired of trying to make his cars go faster. Cal and Mike once gave Mike's mom's car a little tune-up by dropping a racing engine into it while Mike's mom and dad were away for a weekend. Mike's dad was furious, but then took the car for a test drive and thought it was pretty neat. In the early 1960s, Cal went to work helping his Uncle Indar build a new state-of-the-art mill. Through working on it together, they not only got to spend time together, but Cal also had the opportunity to demonstrate his mechanical knowledge. It was also at that time when Cal started buying and selling small engines that he would come across at auctions when looking for mill equipment for his uncle. In later years, Cal's brothers, Stan and Jerry, lived near. Jerry spent many years working with Cal, and Stan moved on to work on his own endeavors. And it was also whilst working for Uncle Indar, Cal married his first love, Janet Saunders. As a young girl, she had been neighbors to the Gill family, who had moved to the valley during the early years of the war. Janet was 5 years Cal's junior. Such a cute little blonde she was. But as time went on, Janet became the woman that he would marry in 1961. Life was busy for the newly wedded Cal, who had started buying and selling engines and selling parts. He needed a place to store them all, so he and Mike bought Uncle Indar's mill site property. They hired a mechanic and formed a company, naming it after their wives, Janet and Barbara. Jambar Enterprises was born. In the years that followed, Kalvan partnered with Mike and his company, Anglo-American, building a small shake mill. And then in 1978, Cal decided to build his own large-scale mill with the expertise of his smart and capable friend, Abe Morgeau. Abe was on most of Cal's job sites throughout his life, and Cal said, "I could send Abe anywhere around the world anytime. He had lots of good ideas and enough guts to make them happen." Cal's later pursuits took him far and wide to America, Europe, Martinique, Korea, and the far north, all giving him the competence, confidence, and expertise required to tackle a number of large-scale jobs. Cal had an engineering mind. He would often look at something and devise a more efficient model for it. For example, he designed his own shingle machine for his mill. Cal was analytical, curious, and creative. He always saw potential and was a visionary who often saw things before others. Cal loved the challenge of a difficult job. He thrived on the stress and loved nothing better than for someone to say it couldn't be done. Cal was a no risk, no reward kind of guy. Many of his jobs were in remote areas, which was challenging in and of itself. For example, there was the raising of a ship in Dutch Harbor, Alaska, purchasing the powerhouse in Churchill, Manitoba, which then led to him building tundra buggies at his shop in Mission to send back to Churchill for tourists to be able to view the polar bears. Cal also purchased Exxon's drill rig at McKinley Island in the Yukon as there was scrap metal to be sold. There were many other unique ventures involving tugboats and freighters, one of them called the Gordon Gill, and a very large job in Korea which involved installing power into high-rises. And on it went. Cal always had something on the go. Julie often said if there were two words to describe her husband, they would be capable and tenacious. One of Cal's known mottos was, if you don't look after your business, it won't look after you. To wrap up the rich legacy left from Kalvan's professional life, I'll share one quick story to show his more humorous side. There was once a bootlegger renting a small shack on Cal's property. The bootlegger had stopped paying for rent and was refusing to leave. Cal's remedy? He used his forklift to remove the roof and provide the renter with a rather large skylight. While he was in it. Such were the antics of Kay Gill. Over the many years, Cal's business expanding, he and Janet also expanded their family to have 4 daughters. Kelly was followed by Kim, and then came the twins, Lana and Lori. They had a very traditional young family life, often holidaying in the Okanagan, Hawaii, Disneyland. Cal was a busy father, often traveling and occasionally even being picked up by a float plane while the family was on summer vacation, heading off to whatever project he had on the go. That said, Cal always made sure to be home for all of his kids' birthdays, sometimes traveling from afar, just to be there for their special day. Cal and Janet's girls grew up closely with Harvey, Janet's brothers, and Brenda's kids, Brent and Darcy. Often vacationing at OK Falls, the children shared many special memories of walking to Tasty Freeze with their cousins. Growing up, each of the daughters had their own unique interests. Kelly spent much of her time sewing and crafting with her mom, helping with the monumental mounds of laundry from a growing family, sometimes borrowing the Clink and the Boswick horses for a leisure time. Kim had her horse, and the twins loved their Barbies. Sadly, in the mid-1970s, Janet became sick with a terminal illness and ultimately the tragic loss of her life in 1979. Cal was left a young widower with 4 young daughters aged 7 to 17. It was the most difficult time in all of their lives. In 1983, Cal married Julie, who had been an acquaintance. Julie restored some light to Calvin's days. Young and bubbly she was. Julie had all the energy required to raise his first littles. In the early years with the first family, Kalvan and Julie went on trips to Palm Springs and Seattle along with Vancouver bunches in an effort to bring some happiness, light, and life back into their lives. In the coming years, Cal and Julie went on to welcome 2 more daughters, Jasmine and Shakira, nicknamed Wiggy, and her nickname stuck. Wiggy shared one of her childhood memories. Kalvan had brought her first BMX bike At age 7, he could see that she was struggling to pedal it, so he gave her a lesson in gearing, drawing diagrams of how gears worked on a napkin, and ended up getting her a smaller sprocket for her bike. This was one small moment which gave Wiggy a valued lesson in mechanics. Kalvan never missed an opportunity, a teaching opportunity with his girls. When it comes to daughters, men would often say to Cal, "Too bad you only have daughters and no sons," which he always was insulted by. He thought having 6 daughters was perfect. He instilled into each of his girls that there were no boundaries to their dreams. Anything could be attained, and they were given every opportunity that a son would have had. Kalvan was a father who tried to take time to listen to his kids and to people in general. He was a loving but firm father. As the saying goes, if you want a quick answer, the answer is no. This was one of his policies that was clearly understood by all the girls. Cal was a father who valued his daughters having skills that were important to him. For example, he made sure all of them had a chance to learn how to drive at a young age, both cars and bicycles or motorcycles. He purchased an old Mazda truck so the kids could learn to drive as standard. In this way, Speed, as he was affectionately called by Mike, carried on his youthful legacy. Cal had grandchildren before having his second family. And Julie would often say, it was always so funny trying to explain to people how we were all related. It was especially nice to have the grandchildren fairly close in age with Cal's second family. Jasmine, who was very social, loved to hang out with her older nieces and nephews. The children had so much fun growing up together. Having 2 families was always busy, with birthdays, big Christmas gatherings, and wiener roasting at the farm in the summer. Kuldeep and Jim would often stay at the cabin on the farm. This was an exciting event for all the girls and the family, who often enjoyed curry and roti meals together. And as they grew up, Calvin's older granddaughters often made him his favorite foods. They were great cooks, as their mom, Kelly, and grandmother, Janet, before them. And I would say that Julie is awesome, a pretty amazing cook too. The family dynamics: Kelly was the assistant mom. Kim and Wiggy shared Cal's ingenuity and passion for all things that moved. Lori and Lana were Cal's cheerleaders, often flanking him on both sides at all the family dinners. Jasmine was Cal's yes girl, running all manners of errands, as well as accommodating his illicit food cravings. Kim later became his business confidant, and moving forward has some big shoes to fill. There were so many children who were a part of the Gill household, including many of the kids' friends. There really never was a dull moment. Cal loved the friends coming and going, whether playing at the house or joining the family on summer vacations. For those of you who are here, know that you were loved and valued by Kalvan. He always appreciated that his kids, grandkids, and their friends felt like home, his home, was their home. They all brought Kalvan such joy and delight. It was especially difficult for Cal during the COVID years, not to be able to spend time with those he loved most dearly. And then in the later years, life became much quieter. Cal enjoyed the simplicity of just being home, living quietly. He loved to sit in his chair and view the world from his window. Cal was a very private man and an independent thinker, rarely looking for company outside of his close friends and family. Kelly said, this didn't mean that he wasn't fun. It just meant that his time was shared with us, the lucky ones. Julie felt immensely lucky after all the years of him traveling. To start each day, she would make Cal his favorite breakfast, pancakes. He always had such a sweet tooth, and as we've learned, his favorite dessert was lemon pie. In the evenings, he and Julie would often sit together to talk about their day. Cal loved this time. so much so that he sometimes found it hard to go to bed. Julie could see that he was tiring and would urge him to call it a day, to which he would reply, "We're vibing here." With the full life that Kalvan had led, he cherished these moments with Julie and all of his family, both living and past. Cal dearly missed those who had gone on before him and would take time each day to have a quiet moment with their pictures in his room. In his final days, Cal was very well cared for by his devoted family of women who kept him in the foods he loved. Julie has found comfort in knowing that he is now with his loved ones past, and she has said that she is turning over pancake duty to Janet again. We all leave a legacy, both within our personal and professional lives. In the business world, opportunities will come. We either take on their challenge or let them pass us by. Cal had an innate instinct to see a good opportunity and run with it. Trials to those opportunities are inevitable. In those moments, we either surrender the dream or persevere through the hardships to accomplish our goals. Kalvan had the courage, stamina, perseverance, unabashed grit, and resiliency that was needed to see his dreams come true. Yet, life is not defined by the things we own, the people we know, or the accomplishments we've achieved. Things can't take them with us. Influence doesn't matter once we're gone. Accomplishments, well, accomplishments are fulfilling, but they don't make the man. It is within our personal lives where we will leave our greatest legacies. Life is defined by the legacy we leave in the hearts and the minds of those who we hold most dear as we pass on from this life and into the next. And Kalvan Gill left a rich legacy. Speaking of which, we've got Kelly, his oldest daughter, coming to give a few words. And I think we've got one more. And then we're going to have a video.
I'm switching glasses. I'm going to give it up. Monkey faces. My whole front one nose. Keep grandma keeping them together. Oh, it's okay. Put that back.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'm Kelly, Dad's firstborn daughter. I said I have a Kleenex supply, which is this gnarly little thing here now. So maybe we'll have a backup. My earliest memories of my dad are from about 3 to 4 years of age. True story. I have an amazing memory, both a blessing and a curse. I knew by how he looked at me that I was his everything, that he loved me to the moon and back, and I loved him all the way to Prince George. I recall my mom telling me once that I was listed as his beneficiary should anything happen to him. It was quickly corrected. I remember crawling into his side of the bed at night because I was never turned away at that side. I'd curl up against his Indian belly. Indian bellies are the best. I remember dining at a little freckled laminate table, just the three of us, and asking if I was a Hindu, like the kids at school said. Mom and Dad laughed really hard, so I guess it wasn't a bad thing. He worked hard and always. If we wanted to see him, we went to work and ate our dinner on greasy wooden Coke boxes. I can still smell it. They were the best meals ever, and I'd shake my belly full of milk to make them laugh again and again. I forced myself to eat scrambled eggs at the local diner with Dad, for fear he would cancel our plans if he knew I didn't like to eat the eggs. Not long after, I had to share him. My sister Kim came along when I was almost 6. It was an exciting time, not too bad though, as she was a mama's girl for the first few years. 60s life was good. He taught me how to ride a bike, dirt bikes, and an Odyssey, and really anything that moved. I taught him to eat my baking. Days were full of cousins and grandparents, always a birthday dinner or camping or a card game, late night Chinese takeout with Mom and me, and cold Cokes. Dad, the forever nurturer, was the one who saw to us when we were sick, vomiting, or just sad, and Mom let him. 1972 brought us twins, Lori and Lana. The pregnancy was to be kept secret, which I kept for the time it took to run to the DeVrieses. Some secrets just can't be kept when you're 10. It was a busy time. Dad still hard at work. I often got up with Mom to speed up the feeding so I could go back to bed. 1,000-square-foot homes didn't make for quiet. There was zero bathroom humor in our house, but my dad was a forensic manicurist. My nails have forever been Calvanized. It's not really all that good. He wasn't a prankster, but he found so much pleasure in blacking out the teeth on my Donny Osmond and David Cassidy posters. I went to shake and shingle conventions with him as Mom had the babies, and I liked to dress him well, picked out all his ties for years. Dad was so proud of his brood, the biggest grin when the guys gave him kudos for all his girls, which I could never understand as Mom had to deliver them. He gave me his version of the birds and the bees at about 15, which was there are no nice boys. He arrived by float plane in our summers at OK Falls. I felt famous as I ran to greet the plane. That's my dad. It wasn't long before life took a sharp turn. Our mom became ill and life changed for us all in 1979. Dad became our everything, and undoubtedly it was the single most difficult thing he ever did. While he did it with as much grit and determination, it was a very hard time for all of us. Julie came into our lives and light into his. The days weren't so dark, and this 17-year-old wanted some light for all of us. They even made us 2 more sister nieces. It's an inside title. And aunties for our kids. He wasn't keen on me moving out, but he might have had a hard time if I were even 40. I worked with him from 18 to 20. They were good times. He emptied his pockets on Friday, and the change was my beer money. He said it was weighing him down. You might remember that, Lale. I came to work one morning, and I told him I was pregnant, and I was getting married. He said, yeah, I had an idea. He was so strict and firm growing up, but shame never entered into it. He wasn't ashamed, and we weren't to be either. Chin up, he would say. He worried about us, but also reveled in our crazy, daring antics. Building homes, travel, kids, pets, wineries, he wanted to hear it all. The chip off the old block, you could say. We were as determined and tenacious as he. Cue the monkey faces. I am the eldest. It was expected and my pleasure to host the gatherings. Nothing would get in the way of that. So much so I'm having a hard time looking at my table linens as each one invokes a memory. It was always what Dad would like. Right up until last summer when he came to visit our summer place, it was a Swedish pancake, his own stick of butter, heated pure maple syrup, 1 small porcelain cup of black coffee with a tiny swirl of heated cream, and some hot water, but only maybe, followed by a nap. Then be sure to have a lunch menu idea. Dad's face welled when he saw his grandkids, often why he always wore dark glasses. And he saw the past and the future in his great-grands, picking out little features in each of them that reminded him of Mom or how proud she would have been of them. I won't say I don't know how to do life without him, because I do. I've had this man for 62 years, and that will get me through. More turkey, more family, celebrations, more lemon tarts and burnt pancakes. Make a rosé, have no shame, enjoy ladybugs and travel, buy the jewels in a fast car. We'll make you proud, Dad, until we see you on the other side. I love you.
Hi, I'm gonna do as best as I can here, and I'm not gonna look at anyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Allie. And I'm one of Kalvan's many granddaughters. And for the last year, I've gotten to live with my grandpa and grandma. And what a treat that has been. My grandpa has been near and dear to my heart my entire life. And as a child, I always found solace being at their house. And now as an adult, nothing has changed. Grandpa had a laugh and a smile that could light up the room, and even on the days I would come home grumpy from work, which was often, I could never stay grumpy for very long. Because as soon as I poked my head around the door, there he was with a big grin and his classic, "Hi, honey." He often told my mom that I was his sunshine, and I hope he knew that he was mine. The thing about living with Grandpa, though, is that there are rules. No matter how old you are, Grandpa has rules, even if you're the godchild. God forbid I left the house without a jacket, and running to my car wearing sandals, still unacceptable. Socks needed to be on. Anytime I left the house at night, I would get up, be home by 9:30 if I was lucky. And if I was staying somewhere else, rules still applied, and he would let me know he's calling to check. When I was little, he would often pick me up to take me on a date, sometimes to ABC for a half vanilla, half chocolate milkshake, or we'd go to the Claiborne candy store for lunch, have a quiche, and then he would buy me a whole case of the fizzy lemonade, not just one, because I said that I liked it. Other times, he would pick me up and take me for a drive around Mission and tell me stories of everything he had done through the years. We had so many conversations in this last year that I will hold so close to my heart. Grandpa would share secrets with me and I with him. He loved that my mom and Ward were happy. It brought him joy to see how hard of a worker Nick was. Kinley he thought was so smart, and he thought the world of my dad. There's so many things I'm going to miss about him, and he was without a doubt the best person I knew. Grandma and I's dinners have looked a little bit differently recently, and they felt different too, although it's probably the first time in her life she's been able to sit through a whole dinner without having to fetch a glass of hot water or grab him ranch for his rice, because you don't put butter on rice, you put ranch. It makes way more sense. Or tempura sauce, but no sodium. He was so incredibly proud of all of us and never let us know. He loved his girls, and he always made sure we knew that we could accomplish anything in this life, no matter what it was. Even though he is gone, he still lives in every single one of us. His legacy will never cease to exist, and we will miss him until the day that we see him again.
That was beautiful. You know, we've got a movie, and I'm just thinking, if everyone can get just a little bit cozy, would that be all right for them to be able to come up to see it, Julie? Well, everyone in the chandelier room, can you make your way? Oh, wow, we are even going outside. What a gift. What a gift. You know, someone was saying, and I can't remember who it was just before the service started, they never thought that Kalvan would go. And I totally get that, because I never thought my mom and dad would go. And I remember someone said, you know, Rosalind, one day your mom and dad are going to go. And it was like, what? I was in complete shock. And I think that resonates when you've lived such a life that has so powerfully impacted people, it's almost hard to imagine you not still being here. And that, wow, Julie, what a testament to your precious, precious hubby. So I think, so that everybody can enjoy the movie, Julie, what would you?
I think we're just maybe going to have to start mingling now if people want to come up and do the slide.
We are going to start mingling now, and we have desserts and food this way, Julie? down this way. And we are going to play the video, and I think, Wiggy, can you put that on a loop? So if you want to enjoy some beautiful family pictures of Kalvan's life, we're going to have it going up here. But let's have time to just visit and socialize and tell stories about this wonderful man that we all loved, Kalvan Gill. And Wiggy, do you want to start? And I'm going to go find out, the food is all down there ready to go, is it? I'm going to go find out where we're at with the food, and in the meantime, feel free to enjoy yourselves. Thank you so much for coming. It means a lot to Julie and her family.